Doubles and Coffee, reading today's PNM Guardian editorial. It's just amazing. They talk about procurement and the lack of ability for the government, the PNM government, to move forward. The diluting of the procurement legislation by the PNM, by Keith Rowley's government. The lack of implementation, the diluting, the removal of areas of expenditure from critical oversight by the PNM. But in between, the Guardian newspaper cannot just be truthful. It has to be corrupt because it is biased by the PNM. They like the PNM. The shareholders make money under the PNM. They hire Asha Javid, the PNM journalist who loves PNM and makes children only for PNM and does not disclose this. That's what the Guardian Media Limited does. So they give you a scathing editorial basically showing that the PNM want to steal your money. They don't want oversight. But they put in this paragraph, and hear this paragraph. The unfortunate reality is that the politicians and political parties have no credibility on the issue of procurement. They become principled out of office and expedient when in office. Now that's a total, blatant falsehood, especially when it comes to the United National Congress. It was in United National Congress under Bastille Pandey and Ramesh Lawrence Marach who introduced Freedom of Information legislation and the Integrity in Public Life Act. But not only that, if you go back in recent history to 2001, the PNM was in charge from 2001 to 2010, and absolutely nothing happened with procurement legislation. Patrick Manning talked about white paper since 2004 to it be implemented, passed, implemented, and proclaimed procurement legislation by his date of 2006. He got voted out of office on May 24, 2010, and there was no procurement legislation anywhere to be seen. In fact, the PNM Prime Minister back then said that he needed to hear the views of Calder Hart, Ken Julian, and Uttara Rao before moving forward. In comes Kamla Persad-Bissessar and the UNC in 2010, and in less than 5 years, in January of 2015, procurement legislation, the strongest in the history of the Caribbean, was passed through Parliament with special majority. But yet, the Guardian says all political parties, meaning PNM and UNC, do not care about procurement legislation and do nothing. They talk about it when they're out of office, but when they're in office, they delay. That is not true. Kamla Persad-Bissessar got it done quickly in 4 years and 8 months. Then came the PNM again. Guardian Media, corrupt, limited, nasty, lying, disgusting newspaper. The legislation was there September 2015. Rowley became Prime Minister. And from September 2015 to August 2020, did absolutely nothing. All you had to do was proclaim it. They did nothing. They made excuse after excuse. They kicked the can down the road. Then they came back in an election 2020 under COVID and locking out people. They call an early election when they're lying and say that they are protecting us from COVID. And they scrape back into office by 2,610 votes in 2 marginals. And then they come to the Parliament with the help of the independent PNM senators who either have senior counsel, they're on PNM board, they own land, they get land purchased in Tobago from PNM's friend Rowley's, Warner Construction, buying and selling land, all of this, and they get the votes in the Senate too. To do what? To dilute what Kamla Persad-Bissessar had. So Kamla Persad-Bissessar had strong legislation to protect the people's money. Rowley comes and take out disposal of assets, take out legal fees, medical supplies, take out government-to-government contracts. And the Guardian comes here today to equivocate and put the UNC and PNM in the same vein. They then leave it until April 2023 when they proclaim it. And within a month and a half, they break the law, the PNM break the law, break the procurement law, and come back to the Parliament, come back to the Senate to water it down more. And the Guardian has the audacity and the dishonesty to say that all political parties are the same. That is the PNM mantra. And Guardian Media Limited, you must be rejected Let me just remind you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, this is from a debate in the Hansard of 2009. Bastio Pandey was saying to Patrick Manning and the PNM, where's the procurement legislation? And he says, Bastio Pandey says in 2009 September, Mr. Speaker, the actions of this government, meaning the PNM, revealed its disdain for the population, its flippancy in dealing with the citizens' questions about its expenditure of taxpayers' money. It is as if the Prime Minister, the PNM Prime Minister, and his cohorts, the PNM cohorts, believe that the Treasury is their own personal bank account for which they do not need to account to the people. It belongs to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and they have a right to know what you are doing with their money, and they have a right to an input in what you spend it on. Mr. Speaker, in delivering the 2005 budget speech, remember this is from 2009, in this honorable house, this is what the Prime Minister said, and I quote him, meaning Patrick PNM Manning. Mr. Speaker, my government is committed to good governance. For us, this means putting systems in place to ensure transparency, accountability, the highest level of efficiency and effectiveness, equity, and adherence to the rule of law. And he went on as a PNM to do absolutely nothing. But the Guardian comes to criticize and lump the UNC in with the PNM. Furthermore, Guardian, you dishonest, lying media house. When Kamla Persad-Bissessar was Prime Minister, there was something called corporate governance. So there's procurement legislation, then there's Ministry of Finance rules, plus there's best practice in corporate governance and tendering. Corporate governance means that the more eyes that are, and ears and hearts that are on the money, the longer the process is, the more eyes, the more people that can see, the less opportunity for those with nefarious means to get their hands on your money. So Kamla Persad-Bissessar had one chairman for one board. So no interlocking directorships. She had one person on one board. So you can't be on multiple boards. So more people getting an opportunity to put checks and balances on money. Kamla Persad-Bissessar had no family members of ministers on any boards. Kamla Persad-Bissessar never allowed ministers to procure goods and services. It does not exist, did not exist. These are serious checks and balances. In comes Rowley, and you have interlocking directorships of his own personal friends and family, his personal brethren. You have Newman George on 7 boards. You have Ingrid Lashley on 9 boards. You have Rowley's own personal attorney on a few boards, but the chairman of Heritage. You have Gilbert Peterson on board. You have Rowley's Ines Gate connection controlling the money. Which one is more corrupt? Which one allows money to be stolen? Which one is less transparent? You come to lump UNC and PNM in the same thing. Guardian Media, you are dishonest, you are corrupt, and you are ridiculous, and that's why the people are rejecting you out of hand. Now, just to finish off with this discussion, when you see that Pandey talked about the PNM back then, you could take that Hansard and put it into the debate this week and show when the PNM came to dilute, to legalize their TIEF, utilizing the Parliament and the Senate, when they came to again dilute the procurement legislation and they got some help from their friends who sit behind us. That is what the PNM does. Because they spent money for this CARICOM 50th anniversary that they said snuck up upon them by breaking the law. They tried to produce 2 illegal orders that broke the law. Then they come to the Parliament to legitimize their breaking of the law. That is the PNM. That's what they do. That's what they have done, and that's what they continue to do. Do you know it is the PNM under Keith Rowley that created a committee of ministers chaired by none other than, well, members call him but Champaku Joe Smallpin, to purchase, well, it really was originally to lease a fast ferry during the collapse of the sea bridge. And the PNM ministers procured a slow boat called the Galleon's Passage for 120 million. Ministers, no board, no tenders committee, no advertisement, no approval, no then cabinet note taken to the ministry to be taken to cabinet and so on. None of that. Ministers procuring The idea of procurement legislation and corporate governance is to keep those decision makers far from the process. And once you allowed Rowley to do that, you know what he then went on to do with the small pin? He lied and said that the Port Authority Board didn't get any vessel and they were unable to procure, when they actually found 11 vessels bid and 4 were actually brilliant to provide service. But Rowley lied and did not say that. He said they found nothing, so that what he could do. He and Smallpin then went to Australia, a prime minister and a minister in the office of the prime minister, to meet with CEOs and tour facilities and have scotch and eat shrimps, and then tell them, well, you all come bid for billions of taxpayers' dollars. That was their process. No board, no advertisement, no competition, no tenders committee board, no public servant, nothing like that. Rowley and Smallpin. And then these two companies, Incat and Ostal, gave the bids to a committee headed by the very Smallpin, who toured with them, met with them, ate with them, laughed with them. And they opened the so-called bids. And then Smallpin committee saw that Ostal's bid was higher than Incat. And their committee shared secret information of a competitor, so to speak, in their rigged competition with the other supplier, and got the other supplier to lower their initial bid price. And then they handed out your money, billion here and billion there, 750 there, 750 there. And then they bought 2 cut-class vessels too, without any audit, without any request from the Coast Guard. Then went and purchased, then come and tell the Coast Guard, look, we buy that. And you know what they came to tell you? That because they made arrangements to borrow money from Australia, some Australian Exim Bank, that's a government-to-government relation. The government of Australia does not own 1 share in Ostal, nor 1 share in Incat. And you, Guardian, media, you, the people, allowed Rowley to do that. And now you come to tell us the UNC and the PNM are the same with procurement, that they don't move. Kamala moved expeditiously from zero to hero to pass strong, stringent procurement legislation. The PNM from 2001 to 2008 did nothing as called a hard ran rampant. Ken Julian, Uttara Rao, Andre Montai, Keith Rowley, Noel Garcia, rampaging all over the place. And then Keith Rowley became prime minister and gutted, weakened procurement legislation passed by Kamala to legalize thieving. And you, Guardian, have the audacity to link Kamala and the UNC with the thieving, lying PNM. That's why nobody reading your papers. Hey, no Douglas politics tonight. Politics, local government election. Rowley going to get such a licking. Boy, it could be finger licking good. That's why go beat the PNM KFC off of him too. Tuesday night, Douglas politics. Bless. This one long, but very important.